Welcome back to All Things Creepy. I'm your host, Micah James. This episode's already going to be kind of on the longer side, so I will try to keep this intro as short as possible. There's just a few things that I want to cover before we get into it. So this is definitely going to be part one of potentially 3 or 4 parts. I am covering the Creepypasta Iceberg Chart from Average Skeletorium. Not entirely sure if I'm pronouncing that username correctly, but it will be linked in the show notes. The second thing I want to cover is that I am not reading these. I am just giving you guys a very brief description of every single one of them. The next thing I want to say is I am actually going to read or listen to them so I can give you guys the synopsis of each one of these, which is why I'm unsure of how many parts this is going to be. And on top of that, this is the last thing before we really get into it. This does cover video game pastas, and while I do absolutely love video games, I'm not a huge fan of video game pastas, so those descriptions are gonna most definitely be on the shorter end to just give you a general idea of what the story is about. Now, with that being said, let's get into it. So we're starting with tier 1, Jeff the Killer. I've already covered this in depth in my last 2 full episodes, but in case you don't want to go back and listen to those, this is a super brief description. Basically, Jeff moves into a new town with his family. He gets beat up and very badly burned, which makes him go crazy. He kills his parents, and it's possible that he killed his brother as well, but that is very open-ended. Again, that's a very general synopsis of it, so either go ahead and read it or listen back to those episodes. Next is Squidward's Suicide. This is one of the more famous lost episode pastas. An intern is working at the Nickelodeon studios. The SpongeBob movie had just been released and the team is working on a new season. The intern, along with at least one other person, is about to watch one of the new episodes just to see how it goes, and it turns out to be super dark, and Squidward does end up committing suicide. Play with me. This one is also known as Sally. Sally's uncle comes to visit, and Sally seems to absolutely love her uncle, and he ends up wanting to play a game. The scariest part about this pasta to me is just how realistic it is, and it just, if you decide to read this one, just go into it knowing that this game isn't like any of Jigsaw's games. Next is Laughing Jack. A young boy is being raised by a single parent. I've read a few different versions of this where sometimes it's the mom and sometimes it's the dad, but honestly that part isn't necessarily important to the story. The boy makes a friend that the parent doesn't see, so parent thinks it's an imaginary friend. But then said parent has a nightmare about Jack. The son is one night hanging from the wall, and the parent sees Jack kind of hovering over their son. And while the parent goes to try to stab Jack, they ended up stabbing their son instead. They are then sentenced as innocent by way of insanity, or not guilty due to sanity, or whatever the actual wording is, and is sentenced to an asylum. Next is the Russian sleep experiment. This is again another one that I have covered. So in very much short, Russian scientists want to run an experiment where they take 5 POWs and make them stay up for 30 days, or at least that's the idea. It ends at 15 days where they're awake thanks to this gas, and all 5 subjects end up dying. They end up taking a few with them. So for this next one, I kind of combined 2 because they are very similar to a certain extent, and that is Sonic.exe and Ben Drowned. I'm doing both of these together because, like I said, they are very similar. One is about a Sonic game, and then the other is about Majora's Mask. Sonic.exe is about a Sonic game that is haunted by something and is ruining the narrator's life, while Ben Drowned is about Majora's Mask being haunted by the previous owner of the game and is ruining the narrator's life. I know I brought up Creepcast last week or the week before, but I'm going to bring them up again. They just kind of recently released an episode about Ben Drowned, so in case you guys are interested in reading about that, or even if you don't want to read it but you want to know the story, that's a good one to go to. Creepy is another good podcast to listen to this episode, or to listen to this story. Next is Hero Brian. This is a creepypasta made by the Minecraft community. There's no one specific pasta that I can necessarily direct you guys to, but a character looks exactly like one of the characters in Minecraft. Steve, I believe his name is, and this Steve lookalike looks exactly like him, but the eyes, where the eyes should be, is just completely white. And whenever a player encounters Herobrine, basically bad things happen. Slender Man. This is one that could use its own episode, so I'm going to make this short, but basically a tall, faceless white man in a nice outfit steals children, basically. There's a whole video game, movie, and books based on Slender Man. Jane the Killer. This is a spin-off of Jeff the Killer. Jane sees Jeff as a nemesis and wants to fight him to the death. She believes that she'll win, as she predicts he'll be the one to turn up dead. The original Jane the Killer creepypasta is like kind of written as a letter, and then there are like also spin-offs of Jane the Killer as well. The Backrooms. This started on 4chan. It's a picture of something called a liminal zone, a place where you kind of just pass through. There are theories as to where or what the backrooms are. Some say they are the gateway to a paradise, while others might tell you it's the afterlife. I've even heard that it's just straight up another dimension. The next one is Ayuoki, and I will be posting a picture of this on my Instagram, but it's a mispronunciation of Annie, are you okay? The name was given to a very off-putting animatronic version of Michael Jackson. Again, I'll post a picture of Ayuoki on my Instagram so you guys can see it. It's definitely very unsettling. Eyeless Jack. This is actually based on a Canadian urban legend. Jack stalks our protagonist in the creepypasta, or at least the original creepypasta, and kind of plays with his victim. Our protagonist even gets his kidney stolen. Next is Momo. This is another one that I will be posting a picture of too, because this is another picture that is definitely unsettling for sure. But it's a reference to the Momo challenge. Momo is the scary looking mannequin / statue thing. Parents were worried about their kids seeing it, as it was said to appear on kids' videos on YouTube. SCP Foundation. Now this one kind of goes deep and again kind of deserves its own episode. It's this like whole entire universe where scientists study abnormal phenomena, and if they're able, they try to keep it contained. After all, SCP does stand for Secure, Contain, Protect. Okay, so we're moving on to tier 2. We're starting this off with Candle Cove. This one is written like a classic forum style format, basically, with each person responding to each other. They all talk about this old show, Candle Cove, that they all kind of vaguely remember. And according to their memories, this show was very creepy. And as it turns out, you find out that the show wasn't even real. The TV would just be turned to static for half an hour. And I know that there's like a YouTube video where someone like created one of the episodes that they talked about. If I can find it, I will also link that in the show notes as well. NES Godzilla. Now, I'm not going to lie, I did not read this one because it is very long. And it's known for being very long. It's about the NES Godzilla game. And on top of that, it's known for its image-heavy storytelling. If you're into any kind of NES games, you might want to try to take this on. Like I said, it is definitely one of the longer ones. Next is No End House. Our narrator goes to a haunted house despite being told not to. No one has ever been able to complete it, but he thinks it's a big joke. He completes all 9 rooms only to find that he's kind of stuck in this loop, and when he leaves, he finds out that he's actually in room 10. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people kind of know the first part, but as far as I'm aware, there are 3 total parts, so I might revisit the No End House and read every single part to you guys. That's going to be another longer episode for those of you who might have a longer commute and listen to me on your commute. The Expressionless. A mannequin-looking person walks into a hospital with a cat in her mouth. They bring her into a room, and many who survived described her as expressionless. She ends up attacking the nurses, doctors, and security guards. Before she leaves, she is asked, "Who are you?" by one of the people that she had attacked, and she answers, I am God. The next one is the strangest security tape I've ever seen. Now, I'm not going to lie. Of all of these that I'm sharing with you guys today, this is probably one of my favorites. A gas station has a strange new employee who seems to be stealing oil. They don't know how he's doing it, so they look at the security tape. And it seems like he's repeating a single hour of the day over and over. But the thing is, the time of day does change. It's also affecting their memories too. It's so interesting, and again, this is another one that I'm probably gonna come back and revisit. The next one is The Puppeteer. This one kind of inspired a lot more, but it's kind of short. The narrator's brother gets killed by this ominous figure dubbed the Puppeteer. The brother dies badly. However, almost everyone else in the family died peacefully. This is one that is just like, if you have sleep paralysis, it can be kind of creepy, but I don't know. This one to me was not necessarily the best. Again, in my opinion. Abandoned by Disney. Disney created 2 different parks that failed. The narrator goes to visit them to see what it was like. And then there are these strange creatures living in there now. And this description does not do it justice. This one I actually do recommend. Jason the Toy Maker. Jason loves making toys and making friends. He's possessive and selfish, but he will come across as a perfect friend to his victims, and he will end up killing anyone he deems are in his way. Bloody Painter. A creepypasta series about a serial killer. It's a 3-parter. He killed 17 people before getting caught. He was found guilty by reason of insanity and sentenced to an asylum. He ended up being released, but killed more people before he just ended up disappearing. Suicide Mouse. This is a supposed video that was made by Disney. Mickey is walking along and it seems at least a little bit normal until it's not. It starts to look like he's walking through hell. I'm pretty sure that someone ended up making a video that looks like it could be the video that the pasta is about. If I can find it again, I will link it in the show notes. Next is Nathan the Nobody. He ends up getting kidnapped along with his twin sister Crystal. Nathan angers his kidnappers and he's kept in a dark room. Crystal ends up dying. I can't remember how. It's been a little bit since I read this, but she dies, either killed by the kidnappers or just dies. And Nathan ends up learning this, but he ends up tricking himself into thinking she's still alive and does his best to stay alive to rescue himself and his sister. The Smiling Man. Our narrator is going on a late night walk when he sees this man who seems to be dance walking. The narrator sees that he's also smiling. The man at one point starts running towards the narrator. Since that night, he doesn't go for a walk ever again in that town. He lives there for 6 more months before moving. The No Sleep podcast ends up doing a very great narration of this, so I definitely recommend it. The next one is Pen Pal. Now, this is a longer creepypasta that ended up getting turned into a novel. A narrator recalls strange events from his childhood and basically not so much hilarity ensues. Yet again, I have to shout out the Creepcast with Wendigoon and Meat Canyon. They read it. And I know the No Sleep podcast also reads it. So definitely check one of those 2 out in case you guys you're interested in learning more about it, but don't necessarily want to read it yourself. The Midnight Game. And this is a ritual pasta, and I love ritual pastas. This one terrified me. Basically, you're inviting this entity called the Midnight Man into your home, and you have to survive between 12 a.m. and 3:33 a.m. or else the Midnight Man will get you. The Tails Doll Curse. The Tails doll does not have a clear origin. By the way, this is Tails from the Sonic games. But the doll is usually the antagonist in various creepypastas as well as urban legends. I couldn't necessarily find a specific creepypasta to tell you guys about, but I'm sure you can probably find something. And if I can find a Mr. Creepypasta video on the Tails doll curse, I'll link that in the show notes. Marble Hornets. This is a YouTube ARG based on Slender Man. And the first episode was published just 10 days after the introduction of the initial pictures of Slender Man. Entity 303, he was supposedly a hacker that was fired by Notch, and he ended up just losing it and planned to destroy Minecraft by 2015. And as of recording this episode in 2024, it seems like Minecraft is still going strong. I didn't look too much into this because I'm not gonna lie, I've never been into Minecraft too much. So that's just the very basics that I've been able to find. The Rake. People have been seeing this strange creature that sneaks into their homes and watches them sleep. These people claim that he calls himself the Rake. People also tend to die when he makes himself known. They either die at the hands of the Rake himself, or they commit suicide, or something else bad happens to them. Polybius. This is a story about a video game that made people become addicted to it. Like, lines would form out the door for it, followed by visits by men in black. Those who played the game had suffered side effects like insomnia, night terrors, and suicide. Many have also stopped playing video games altogether. According to the legend, someone even became an anti-video game advocate. Next is Gateway of the Mind. Scientists wanted to do an experiment where they take away someone's senses to see if they could make contact with God. Only one person volunteered. This man started hearing voices of people who were long dead. He even started making contact with the departed loved ones of the scientists on the experiment. He claimed that he finally made contact with God, and God said that he has abandoned them. The next one is just simply called Mario. This is a hack for the Super Mario World ROM. You basically are able to get a faceless Mario, and then weird things start to happen, basically. Next is Funny Mouth. A random chat user pops into different chats and messes with them. Funny Mouth will watch the victim and will wait until the person decides to catch the bait. Once they do, the victim now seemingly becomes the new Funny Mouth. The Doll Maker. Now, there are various versions of the Doll Maker that I could find, but the one that I chose follows the main character of Vine. Vine is the son of a doll maker and Vine's father denies a customer a doll because the dad discovers that this customer wants to do bad things with the doll. The customer is disgruntled and burns down the house and makes sure that Vine's dad dies. However, upon the disgruntled customer ends up coming back to make sure that this doll maker has died, but finds Vine still alive and kidnaps Vine. The kid is then used as a doll by the man who had taken him, and Vine starts losing his mind. When he was able to escape, he started creating dolls using better and better material to make more realistic dolls, eventually working his way up to killing people to make the most lifelike dolls he could. And in the newspapers, Vine is eventually given the name The Doll Maker. Clockwork, Your Time Is Up. I couldn't finish reading this, but it's basically a Jeff the Killer ripoff, basically. Zalgo. Now, this is another one where there are a lot of creepypastas, so I can't necessarily point you into a specific direction too much. It seems like Zalgo is a creature that was created and became the main character and or villain in many different pastas. As far as I can find, the most well-known one seems to be He Comes. And on top of that, no one can agree on what he looks like. Next is Mr. Widemouth. Now, this one is one of my favorites, possibly just for nostalgia reasons, I'm not gonna lie. But our main character moves around a lot in his childhood. He recalls one house he lived in as a child where he ended up getting, I believe, mono, either right before the family was supposed to move or during their packing while they're trying to get out of the house. In that time, while he's in his bedroom, he meets this little guy named Mr. Widemouth. Widemouth keeps trying to get the kid to play dangerous games with him. The kid finds out in adulthood that Widemouth was actively trying to kill him by finding this little graveyard where like a bunch of children are buried. Now, this next one, I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's Mariana Mordegard Glesgorf. Basically, this is a video that circulated on YouTube, and a man is just staring intensely at the camera, and this kind of started the legend. Apparently, anyone who watches the full video gets cursed. Username 666. Basically, this is a user on YouTube where, according to the legend, you can only find it if you keep refreshing the page, and apparently it's very disturbing. This, again, is potentially another one that if I can find the video, or at least a video, I will link it in the show notes. Fallout 3 number stations. Fallout, like, in the universe seems to have a lot of radio stations, and one of these is supposedly a number station that ends up predicting things that are supposed to happen in the future. And the last one we are covering today is JVK1166Z.ESP. This is another one that I personally couldn't finish, but based on what I could read, it's a creepypasta based on a video game called Morrow Mind, and within the pasta, it seems like people believed it was some sort of virus of some kind. All right, so next week, I'm definitely for sure covering tier 3, potentially tier 4, and then part 3 will hopefully be the last part where I cover just the rest of them in the Creepypasta iceberg. Anything that I said that I'll post in the show notes, again, I will do my best to find everything and post it in the show notes along with my social media and all of that. So yeah, I will see you guys next week with, like I said, for sure tier 3 and potentially tier 4. We'll see how much I'm able to read before then. Anyways, be creepy and stay safe out there, y'all.